Welcome to another Max Performance Garage Education session. Today, we're looking at training blocks. That's what we said we'd look at last time. And there's two things to bear in mind when you start this is how much time do you have and what are your priorities. So to know those things is a good idea to start with testing. So what we do at Max Performance is we test holistically. So we're looking at your strength, your power. Ideally, we get your speed in. We're looking at different conditioning measures. And again, when I say strength, it's not just one movement. We're looking at lower body, upper body, potentially some muscular endurance in there. It gets more individualized based on what sport you're doing and what experience you have. But from doing some testing, that's going to give us an understanding of what your priorities are going to be, as well as looking at what your goal is. So if, for example, your goal is to be doing Ironman competitions, well, if your strength is very weak, that might not be a priority, because does it need to be that strong for an Ironman? Certainly improving it should help, but it doesn't need to be that strong. So what is your priority? So we tie in what your goals are with where you currently are to help look at the priorities, and also how much time you've got. If only 3 weeks out from something, there's not going to be big changes. So that's going to be more about sharpening the sword, little tweaks. Realistically, it's not going to be 3 weeks. We're looking at longer, but we want to know how long do we have? Is it 8 months, 10 months, 12 months? Is this a 2-year project? All of those things are going to help us. So that said, the big things to look at are start with your testing, also look at your goals. So within those goals, what physical qualities do you need? With your testing, where are you with these physical qualities? Where are you? And that helps us identify the gap. So once we know what the gap is in those physical qualities, we can then plan that out based on how long you have. So let's say, for example, I'm going to have to put some numbers on this, that we've identified that for your sport and your goals, there's a lower body strength issue. And if we look at the literature on something, and if we thought, if we could improve your lower body strength by say 20%, there's 20% increase in strength. You've got some training experience. This isn't just going to be a beginner and you get that newbie strength. This is actually going to have to be working hard for it. Not that you don't work hard as a beginner, but we're going to have to work and program well for this. 20% strength. We've got 8 months to do it. Then we can start building our program. So again, this is something you can do yourself. Starts with the goals and the testing and tying those two things in. And then you map out your blocks. So we looked at before this idea of if we're going, say start off with a medium week, then a heavy, then a very heavy, and then a deload week. So it's this wave loading. And then we want to increase that and then increase and increase. Still with a deload every time, but everything is slightly higher. These being 4-week blocks. Now, some of the blocks might be adjusted depending on other things you've got going on. So maybe you're going off on holiday for 2 weeks, you're going to have limited gym access, and that might mean that you've got a 5-week block because we do the 4 weeks, and then you've got 1 more week, and then it's your holiday. Well, we would just extend it to a 5-week, and there's different ways of doing that, or we shorten the block, stuff like that. But in general, we work off this 4-week block method. So for example, if we did have 8 months, this is the end of your 8 months there. This is you here right at the start. We would divide that, roughly speaking, we're looking at 4 weeks per month here. So just for the ease of this, you've got all your blocks. So that's going to separate into 8 different blocks. So using our example here, the main thing was strength. Let's say there also needs to be anaerobic conditioning focus. You've got really solid base, but that repeatability in your anaerobic work needs worked on. You're not going to do everything at once. You want to really focus on one thing, but you still chip away at everything else. So your main focus here, it takes a while, so we're going to start with it, is that strength. So we're going to start with strength, do it for 3 blocks, and gives plenty of time to actually adapt. Importantly here, we're going to retest. then 3 blocks, and then we should see within the programming how you're changing and adapting anyway. But it's important to do that retest to see how you are actually changing. Are we getting the change in test conditions that we're looking for? If not, you need to re-examine the program, re-examine what you're doing lifestyle wise. Maybe it's getting in the way of what we're doing. But hopefully we do that. Numbers gone up. We've got a lot of that 20% we're trying to increase done. And then we can switch the focus a while to the anaerobic side. Maybe the anaerobic will need to go up by, say, 7%. So hopefully if we do AN for anaerobic, hopefully one block of that, we get a really good increase. We retest it, really focused on it, still doing our strength work within there, but only a small amount. Just enough to take over, hopefully make some improvement, but we know it's going to be slow improvement. We've done the anaerobic, it's gone up, and then we go back to strength and work on the strength. Maybe just 2 blocks this time, we do a retest. You get the picture. You can see how things balance over time and go across there. But this is because we know what we're working on, because we started with the testing. We know what our priorities are, because you look into what physically you need to do. And this is where working with a coach, getting in contact with me can really help, because I delve into that and let you know where you need to be compared to where you are. There's so much information out there. A lot of it could be hard to filter through. So you might as well use an expert and talk to them to simplify this process, because ultimately what we're after here is you achieving your goals. You've got your priorities, you've done your testing, you mapped it out, then all it is you putting in the work. Now if you are doing this yourself, one last thing here is roughly, well, what order do you need to do things? Let's say you want to get better at everything. Okay, brilliant. Then we're not going to improve everything at once. You can still chip away at it all, but just think about it like this. So think about the pyramid idea. Now we're looking at things like strength, speed, power, aerobic conditioning, anaerobic conditioning. Think of the slower stuff at the base of this pyramid. So right down here, that's going to be your strength, and let's say your aerobic work. As we get higher up, we're looking at more anaerobic, and this is a massive generalization of things, but let's say a lot of power work, maybe the slower power stuff like you would do with clean pools. And right up here it's really explosive. So yes, power is explosive, but speed, and I'll say an explosive. Really going for it there. Where do you start? You need to start with the base. If you don't start with the base, there is no base, there's no solid foundation. So that's why we start with that strength and the aerobic work, and then you build on that, and then you build on that. So if ultimately your goal is that speed stuff, brilliant. We will still chip away at speed work, really important to do, every 7 to 10 days, are you hitting top speed? That's for another day. But the main focus is improving your base here, then improving the part just above it, and then we'll be able to see some changes when we really address the speed up here. That's the order we do things. So your slower, longer stuff, and then it filters towards the faster, more explosive, shorter stuff. So that's an overview of the training blocks and the way we'd address it. But obviously it's really individual. So again, get in touch. MaxRoger7 Instagram, really good place to start. And we'll look at what you should be testing based on your goals, and then start to map out what the physical qualities you're going to be chasing are and how they fit in with your timeline. What are your priorities? Thanks for listening.